Good afternoon, this is Kuro. Got a tier 10 game in my tier 9 Udaloi. The map is Shards, domination style battle. Going over the matchmaking threats to my ship. Relatively light radar threats with just a Salem. Neptune potentially could be a radar threat. Enemy DDs, Kagero, Lightning, Kitakaze, and Gearing. I pulled this game out of my replay folder simply to kind of showcase how you can get around using terrain to make up for your lack of concealment to work around caps. And this map, in particular, it's a very nice map for a Russian destroyer to sneak up and surprise enemy destroyers. This build, there's no concealment expert, so it's, AFT, full gun build, plus demo expert, along with the usual survivability expert. I am not running superintendent. Usually in my experience, I get about 2 good heals out of a standard repair on a destroyer. AP just sucks away how much utility you get out of the third repair. I would rather have demo expert and just try to play a little more cautiously and not need a third repair. And so far it seems to be paying off. So right out of the gate, I'm using my extended duration speed boost and faster speed than any of the enemy DDs to push really aggressively up here, and I want to try to get this island in between me and any approaching destroyers up here, so when these guys pop out behind this island, look how close they're going to be to me. Boom. Under 5 kilometers. F your concealment. You got a Russian destroyer in your face now. Torps aren't quite ready yet. Now, just kiting away simply because, obviously, he probably torped. There wasn't too many shots that seemed to come my way. This being an Udaloi, I'm torping the Kitakaze rather than the Lightning. The Lightning I expect to have Hydro up, so the Kitakaze is more vulnerable to torps. I'm actually going to spin around here and dump my torps back in on this angle. And I'm doing that because the Kitakaze, number one, he's more vulnerable to torpedoes than I am. But he's got a long torpedo reload, so unless he popped his reload booster, I was torpedo safe in that instance. His torpedoes weren't ready, and I was able to make that, big circle in the middle of the cap and take advantage of that situation. Unfortunately, my torps don't land, but I'm just going to duck back into this cove where the rest of the enemy team can't really shoot me. And this Lightning has a death wish. He's pushing back in on me, and I mean, I haven't even popped a repair yet, and you can see the amount of damage that I've done to this Lightning. I'm stepping out of the cap. I expect there to be Royal Navy torpedoes. I know that if this Lightning stayed in the cap, he's likely going to be spotted again. There we go. Now this Lightning, he's in trouble. He ends up eating a torp, but he would have died shortly after to my guns. I still haven't seen the torps that I'm waiting for, so again, just being patient, stepping off the cap, see if these torps are gonna arrive here, or if he tried to torp teammates or something like that, and just gonna take a really conservative stance, just make the smallest profile entry into the cap and start flipping it. And what I'm looking at is right here, my next two items on my agenda. This Republic is too close to this island. I have a feeling that I can ambush him. What's giving me pause, there is a Neptune here smoked up. It makes me think that the Neptune is not radar. So I'm waiting here to basically get this cap. Actually, I forget. It's been a couple days since I played it. I don't even wait for this cap. I go for the damage. The Republic's pushing out. I go on ahead and dump the torps in. I do take a big hit. Now I'm going to start angling at this Neptune. Unfortunately, take a team torp in the process. The team torp, in my opinion, would have done less damage if I would have been broadside to the Neptune, and I basically go nuts with the Neptune. I'm gonna pause it right here. The reason why this was a good move was I figured that the Republic, he was the easy kill. The Neptune was the question. I didn't want to completely throw my ship away just to take out a tier 10 battleship. I figured that I could get this Neptune to shoot at me, and the distances involved are inside the Neptune's smoke firing range. That means I'm going to be able to spot him from my team back here, as well as myself. And being, you know, close range, I figured that he was going to be more broadside and smoke, that my AP would be able to do a number on him, and as long as I stayed pretty much bow on, angled directly at the Neptune, there's minimal damage that he could do to me during this process. That was my decision making to make that aggressive move, and it pretty much paid off. It's completely crushed the northern flank. There's one ship left, a Kitakaze, that I'm detected here, so he's up in here somewhere. Now, at this point, I need to play a little chill, let my repair come back, get a little bit of additional HP. There's the Kitakaze. Now, this is what how Russians fight destroyers. I'm 11 kilometers away. I'm just going to start opening up on this guy. Actually got lucky there that I'm not landing those hits. This is a new reticle, and or actually, is this a new reticle? It might not be. You got to take a look again. My shooting was atrocious there if it wasn't, so my apologies. But again, just waiting until I drop off concealment. I get spotted again. I do have a lightning pushing out here. This is the guy that torped me earlier. I'm just gonna keep pushing in this direction. My repair's coming up shortly, and I expect this Kagero to open up or bump into him at some point. And I'm up with my repair. I'm up to a third of my HP, and that means that I can whale on some stuff again with this ship. There's the Kagero. He decides to open up. I'm staying bow into the Kagero just to try to create a small profile. A lot of times, actually, I do smoke up here. My thought was that I was going to smoke up and let this lightning spot since I was the low health target. The lightning decides, F this, I'm just gonna smoke up, and I mean, no concept whatsoever of destroyer play. You can't, if you've got HP, you need to spot. And he's not doing it. And, you know, that's unfortunately, I probably could have killed the Kagero there. But that's what happens, and this is a reason why I do what I do. You can't have players playing like this and expect to have good results out of your games, because this guy's just, he's just derping around. So, pushing back out, I figure at this point the Kagero or somebody will shoot at me, and I'm just looking to kite. And Kagero shoots at me. This is a 2v1, and I mean, it's not ideal because it's a 2v1, but I'm going to start laying into these guys, doing how you fight destroyers with a Russian boat. These guys have yet to touch me yet, and you can see just how quickly I'm shaving HP off. The Kagero actually is outside his gun range, that's why he dropped off so fast. He just came back. I'm sitting here working on this gearing. And I mean, these guns can really hurt things. Kagero's starting to shoot at me. I'm gonna start switching targets back to Kagero just because he's the one shooting at me. He does land a good hit there as I turn out. And I'm gonna be going down here shortly. But at this point, what I'm looking to do, my team is consolidated on BCAP. I've pretty much accomplished my objective, crippling the gearing, and this engagement is driving the Kagero further away from the BCAP, my battleships and objectives. So even though I'm going to go down here, I have accomplished a task that I wanted, which pretty much neutralized these last two DDs. Not so much neutralize the Kagero, so much as remove this guy from the immediate fight that my team is facing, mopping up the Montana and whatever else is in and around BCAP. And looking at the ship totals, the score, this game's going to be a win. So at this point, I'm just playing for damage. Popping my speed boost, trying to stay alive as long as possible. But he does hit me, and I end up going down. I do get an unrepairable fire on him and land 3 additional shell hits. And that's going to whittle him down a little bit further. Looks like he did finally repair. But if you look, the final position for that Kagero, he's either going to have to do, the big turn to the outside here or go around this island, either of which buys my team a bunch of time here. And we have a Shimakaze and a Lightning all pushing through this area to screen my ship. So I'm pretty comfortable with where my team sits, position-wise. This game, not a lot of farming battleships with HE or anything like that. Most of my gun damage was on DDs or the Neptune. But my team is going to be mopping this up, and that'll be the game here shortly. Just to kind of close this out, the discussion that really triggered this was the French destroyer thread I had about concealment expert versus AFT, and some people were saying that concealment expert was needed on the Russian destroyers, and in my opinion, you're not really getting anything new from your concealment expert. Using concealment expert, you're not going to be able to sneak up on your pure US, Japanese, and other destroyers in a Russian boat. It's just not going to happen. One of the differences is with the French boats, they do have usable concealment if they spec for it. it falls under that like large destroyer category with like Haragumos, where you're relying more on an obscene amount of firepower to keep destroyers away from you. You've got that main battery reload booster on the mid and high tier French destroyers that when you have that available, not many destroyers are going to want to pick a fight with you with your HE doing, 2,000 alpha per shell hit. Um, it's that damage stacks up incredibly quickly. One good main battery reload booster could easily strip half the HP off an enemy DD uh, just in during its runtime, and that does not leave that ship much time at all to disengage. Uh, so that is one of the reasons why I prefer the the difference between um, concealment expert on the French DDs and AFT on the Russian destroyers. It's they just sync up better, in my opinion. The Russians, you have much better firing trajectories to actually work from, 14, 15 kilometer range, while the French DDs will struggle, much beyond 13 kilometers with their shell travel times, and you can use that advantage in a Russian destroyer. That if you run into a French boat that's running AFT, you can just pick them clean. Uh, every time they pop up, you just keep playing whack-a-mole, and you'll outtrade them consistently, and you'll beat that destroyer into the dirt, especially with most of the Russian boats these days having access to a repair party that the French boat doesn't. It's not even close in terms of durability between the Russian boats and the French boats. What the French boats do have is insanely high alpha potential with its AP coming around the catching a cruiser, broadside, and even from concealment ranges and even beyond 8-9 kilometers, you can main battery reload a broadside cruiser and just gut it with citadels and actually inflict more damage on that cruiser than that cruiser can even inflict back on you, even if he's got his guns pointed your way. Simply because you're doing citadel damage with the main battery reload DPM, and he's doing 33% HE damage back at you. So just just my thoughts on the differences between AFT and Concealment Expert, between the Russian and the French destroyers, and the play style between the two. So if you've got any questions or comments, leave them below. I know I'm running a little long with you guys looking at this splash screen on my web browser. I apologize for that, but the game would not pause and stop for me. So hope you guys are having a good day, and I will talk to you later.